Good afternoon. This is Not Shaken, and I'm your host, Daniel Holdings. Today, what I have for you is an abbreviated portion of a podcast that I did last week. The reason why I say it's abbreviated is because I went over several issues regarding a news roundup that I did. But the first part of that had to do specifically with something called the kill shot. Then I went on to discuss several kill shots that we are facing, and they are all important. But in order to see the full podcast, you need to be a subscriber to Not Shaken. In order to do that, it costs less than 33 cents a day, and you have to go to notshaken.tv in order to sign up. Now, I thought this information was so important, I needed to release it to as many people that wanted to see that. And so that's why you're going to see a portion of that podcast. But the rest of the podcast is equally important. Why do I charge for this platform? For one, it is a private platform, and as such, I won't be censored by YouTube or anybody else. And I can make sure that I'm saying exactly what the Lord wants me to say. The second thing is that the Bible says that a worker is worthy of his wages. 33 cents a day is not a lot of money in order to make sure that you see high quality program, which is exactly what we try to give you here at Not Shaken. Once a week, I do a news roundup. And then I also do a Bible study for the other broadcast. One of the things I try to do is I try to frame the discussion from a biblical worldview. So if I'm analyzing the news, I'm doing so through a biblical lens. Many times the things that you see on the internet or on television do not use that biblical worldview to discuss those things that are happening. But I'm of a mind that says that the things that are happening today on planet Earth are absolutely end times. And so all of these things are linked together, and this is why I address them in the way that I do. But again, in order to get those programs, you need to go to notshaken.tv and sign up for the broadcast. So let's get on to the news that I have for you. Again, Daniel Holdings, Not Shaking. I'll be right back.
There are those that have seen the future. They've seen our disasters and our wars. For years, these remote viewers were a part of a military research program, accurately foreseeing the outcome of global events. But when they expected to see a future of prosperity, what they saw was our end. Now, the military officer in charge of this top-secret program shatters the silence, revealing to the public what the governments of the world have known all along to warn you.
Viewers began to pick up on a very large event that at first I thought was a nuclear war.
To prepare you.
It would cause the deaths of millions of people. I don't want to believe it.
To help you survive.
Knowing where to go with your last tank of gas is so important.
The Kill Shot.
The use of a nuclear weapon on the Korean Peninsula by the North Koreans, and this event would be one of the last events that humans recognize before the kill shot sequence begins.
North Koreans are blowing up any passageway in between the South and the North. There's been cross-border skirmishes already reported. As a result of this, the North Koreans are severing all trade routes between the South and the North. Now, the question that people need to be asking at this point in time is, why now? What could have possibly provoked the North Koreans to go to such excessive measures? Let's look at what's happened in the last 48 hours, not only on the Korean Peninsula, but more importantly, in the context of the global geopolitical chessboard, because this is what everybody needs to be paying attention to. This is a world war, and increasingly by the day, it becomes more and more of a world war as defensive pacts are signed between all of the, what we refer to here in the West as the axis of evil, right? North Korea, China, Russia, and Iran primarily. Now, in the last 48 hours, the North Koreans and the Russians have ratified a defensive strategic pact, which essentially means that when one country comes under threat or is attacked, the other country is going to come to their aid. It's essentially an Article 5 for North Korea and Russia. If the North Koreans get attacked by the South and the Americans, the Russians then are obligated to come to North Korea's aid, even if that means nuclear aid, okay? North Korea is now under the Russian nuclear umbrella, even though the North Koreans have their own nuclear weapons, and increasingly more so. The North Koreans in the last 48 hours, in addition to blowing up these roadways, conveniently right around the same time that this defensive pact was finally officially ratified, also state, and this is according to KCNA, which is a North Korean state-run news agency, they claim that 1.4 million students have volunteered to enlist in the military. We're talking about 10,000 artillery pieces that are currently amassed along the North Korean border that, according to the head of the North Korean military, are ready to open fire at a moment's notice.
Politically, we're saying it looks like a space shuttle coming down. The best that we could come up with, pushing ahead, the best that we could come up with was what appeared to be a space shuttle being forced down by what appears to be a meteor shower or something like that.
It's shrouded in all kinds of secrecy, mystery, and intrigue. It may well be one of America's most sophisticated and advanced pieces of technology. But what exactly is its purpose? The X-37B, otherwise known as the OTV Orbital Test Vehicle, or colloquially the Spaceplane, is a flagship, reusable, uncrewed vehicle for the U.S. Space Force. It takes off vertically and lands horizontally, and seemingly has room enough to carry a lot of stuff into space.
The center of the Earth, the core of the Earth, is changing rapidly as an effect of what is happening on the sun.
Shift in the Earth's inner core that sounds like the plot of a Hollywood blockbuster. Scientists say our planet's solid core, which is actually disconnected from the rest of the Earth's layers, may actually have stopped rotating and could even reverse course. This is a new study. It was published Monday in the journal Nature Geoscience.
And if that's the case, then we're probably looking at, as an adjunct to effect to the Killshot sequence, we're probably looking at massive volcanism and earthquakes. On the ground, all of these soldiers look up in the sky. They all look up. So something has happened in the sky. In fact, there's probably unprecedented atmospheric effects that in a recorded history, perhaps an unrecorded history, there's been events like this, but nothing in recorded history. Something happens in the atmosphere that has not been seen before, because all these soldiers are looking up, and then they go home. The priorities change. They go home.
Then, when Putin and Kim signed their mutual defense pact, South Korea announced it would reconsider its policy of not sending lethal aid to Ukraine. Some experts believe one false move, either on the Korean peninsula or in Ukraine, could cause already tense nerves to snap.
Folks, it's the calm before the storm. It is the calm before the storm. The Killshot effects, and these will come and go, but the massive damage, first of all, will be the communications. Communication satellites, military satellites as well, will go down. We're not talking about single event latch-ups where you have a couple of semiconductors go bad. No, these things will be fried. Anybody in space, whether you're inside that little leaded shield on a space station or not, you're fried. You're in bad shape. You're going to die. Okay? So communication, power grids. Power grids, when they go down, folks, when the sun takes the power grids down, it's done it before. This time they won't go back up. It'll be months and months, if not years, to get power grids back up and running. There's going to be no power.
Power grids for entire regions and countries will fail. There will be unprecedented regional heating and atmospheric effects.
Well, a brief background. In the military, I was the operations and training officer, as you know, and some of your listeners know, for the Spy, the U.S.'s psychic spy team, 30 years ago now. And we started experimenting with remote viewing in terms of time and space. We found out that mind is outside of time. You can see over the horizon as well as in the past and the present. And we were especially interested in warfare. What's the intent of the enemy? So these are the kinds of things we were doing to prevent technological and surprises on future battlefields. But we began to see something that was not battle-related. Well, at first we thought it was a nuclear war, but it was not. It was the sun spewing out massive coronal mass ejections, plasma, and affecting the Earth drastically. We've now, anecdotally, but importantly, realized that a lot of the damage that I'll talk about tonight that leads to infrastructure collapse on our planet is because the Earth's core is rapidly changing. And we've kept looking up at the sun at these damaging coronal mass ejections, but it turns out that they're damaging to a great part because the Earth's core, the magnetic field of the Earth is weakening and deteriorating. I predicted a shot across the bow in 2012. And that shot across the bow happened 2 weeks after I said it would, and it turned out to be a flare that was so massive. And we're not talking the Carrington event of the telegraph lines out. We're talking a very, very big one. So we dodged that bullet. If it would have been directed at Earth by that particular active solar region, you can look at the scientific estimates of how many people would have died just an infrastructure collapse alone.
You know, as I was thinking about what to entitle the program today, so many different thoughts came across because the news today is kind of all over the place. It covers a lot of different areas, and I pared down the list of news that I had for you, but it's still humongous. And so one of the things that the Lord put on my heart was how Ed Dames' Killshot that he did, probably almost 15, 16, 17 years ago, is really looking like it might very well come to fruition. Now, let me just say, as that first title page said, we do not endorse remote viewing or astral projection, as it's called. However, the devil knows what he's got going on, and so sometimes he actually tells the truth. And so that's the reason why that I had that in there for you. That first clip that you saw was the actual from their actual website. Again, by the way, all of the links, all of the both the videos and the articles that I cover are down there in the comment section or the about section, so that you can go down there and follow them up yourself. But the interesting thing is, when I went to the site to actually get that clip, and I've seen it a few times, but it was years ago. It's no longer available. The Killshot is no longer available. You can't even order it now. So I don't really know why, except that perhaps the powers that be got a hold of Mr. Dames and took it off so that the truth couldn't be out there. But that was the trailer for it that you saw, at least part of the trailer, called "The Killshot Approaching the Moment." And then there was a video that somebody put together that was that with the original video, and that's what you saw in the second part of that clip. The video on it's not very good, nor is the audio. He put a bunch of sound effects or something in the background, and I couldn't play it without, I couldn't take them out without letting it run that way. So I apologize for the bad audio on it, but I think you got the gist. And then also in that montage was Ed Dames when he was on Coast to Coast one night talking about the Killshot years ago. And then you saw, of course, a Canadian prepper talking about North Korea. And then there was another interview up there with Ed Dames. And that interview, folks, this is really, really important. That interview was on Rumble, and it said the leaked Ed Dames Killshot maps. People always ask me, and ask Steve for that matter, Steve Quayle, where should we go? Where's a safe place? Well, that map actually gave safe places according to what those people saw. But that was very interesting. And I invite you to go back to that clip. Again, the link is down on the bottom, and take a look at the information there, because it was really, really telling. Also in there was something from CNN. They were talking about, and you remember I brought this article to you a few weeks ago. It said that the Earth's core had slowed down and perhaps even reversed course and was rotating in the opposite direction. There was a interview on CNN with, actually later on in the video is Michio Kaku talking about how this is happening. And then the last piece of video that you saw there was something on the solar maximum. So that was that little montage that you saw at the beginning. Now, here's the thing. There are several things that, and we're not just going to stay on this kill shot. We're going to talk about other kill shots as well, ones that are urgent and immediate. But Ed Dames said that there would be a precursor of events. And okay, so the way that they do remote viewing, I guess, and again, I'm not promoting it. I'm just telling you what they say, okay? The way that they do remote viewing is they give somebody a number, and they have an envelope and a subject in an envelope, a title, or something they want to look at in an envelope with that number on a piece of paper, and they put it in the envelope, and then they put it in the drawer. And then they tell the remote viewers what that number is, and the remote viewers are supposed to see what they're talking about without looking at the paper, without knowing what they're talking about, except for the number themselves. Now, the interesting thing is that what those remote viewers do once they're given that number is that, and I'm talking in the hundreds, maybe even thousands, I don't know. But what they do is they actually all see the same thing or something like the same thing, and they draw pictures. That's why you saw pictures at the end of that one where they had the soldiers walking out the battlefield. They all saw the same thing. So it's not just one person. It's not like they told them what they were talking about. These people saw this future. Now, there are several precursor events that they saw to what they call the kill shot. The first thing that they saw was that North Korea launched a nuclear weapon to South Korea, and they saw a mushroom cloud coming off of South Korea. Then they saw something like, this is why they were mentioning these things in that video. Then they saw something like the space shuttle, which we no longer have, uh, be brought down by a meteor shower, maybe a solar flare or something like that. But we do have something called the X-37 B, which is a spy plane. It's been up, in a atmosphere. Actually, there's probably 2 or 3 of them by now. But they actually saw that something like that being forced down. So I'm just assuming they saw the X-37 B as opposed to the space shuttle, because it kind of looks like a space shuttle. Then the next thing they saw was these armies coming. Oh, the other thing is that Ed Dames said that there would be volcanic instability, and it had to do with the core of the Earth, and that's why that video was in there about the core of the Earth. But what was causing that are the solar flares, the solar radiation from the sun affecting our Earth's core, causing volcanic activity. And anyway, that's why that piece was in there. Then lastly, he talked about how these soldiers were coming together on the battlefield, and they looked up, they saw something that was unprecedented. They turned around, instead of fighting, they turned around and went home. So they saw that as well. It's interesting that they said that they thought what they saw was a nuclear war, but it wasn't. It was a solar flare. It was a natural phenomenon. So this got I don't know why. I mean, I saw this years and years and years ago, and it just came back to my mind as I was thinking about what I wanted to talk about today. Because today is a news roundup, and I'm going to be talking about the news. But there are so many things in the news that go along with this idea of a kill shot. And we don't need the sun to try to take us out. Mankind is trying to take out mankind. There's been reports of several earthquakes all over the West Coast. And what we are seeing is this article, the various volcanoes that are up north that have been dormant for years, although Mount St. Helens has erupted before. But now what we're seeing from here, high threat volcano in Washington state rumbling at record rate, prompting alert for geologists. This has to do with Mount Adams, which is normally not all that significant. But what we are seeing is that they're all coming to life. They're all coming to life. And again, I go back to what Ed Dames said, that there would be volcanic activity. It's one of the things that made me think about this when I read this article, that there would be volcanic activity caused by the core of our Earth slowing down and stopping. And lo and behold, we're seeing that kind of thing. You're seeing we are at the peak of the maximum solar cycle, and you're seeing the sun popping off flares. Just last week, there were again Aurora Borealis seen as low as Kentucky. People in Kentucky saw it. Actually, Alabama as well, which is even lower than us. So what you're seeing is the sun do all kinds of crazy stuff, and it makes me think, well, okay, is there anything to what Ed Dames saw? By the way, I think I mentioned that you cannot find that video anymore. It's not there. So I don't know if they took it down. There's a lot of things that used to be on YouTube that they've taken down that you can't see anymore. But the point is that they know that something is up. And there's a kill shot that is on all of us. Humanity is in the crosshairs. And what we are seeing is that there are things coming at us from every angle that are trying to kill us. So when you look at all these things, all the things that are going on in the world today, you could get pretty concerned. You could get frightened. But, here's the thing, right? God is not surprised by the things that are going on in the world. He's not surprised by the attempts of the enemy to kill us. He's not surprised by the lunatics in the White House driving this country into the ground, or our enemies making plans against us. He's not surprised by any of this. And so what we can do is take solace in the fact that our God lives outside of time and space. And one day we will too, because it says in Revelation that time will be no more. I have a very good friend of mine, and he was a pastor for a number of years. He's a chaplain now for a big conglomerate that's went woke. And as a conservative man, as a Christian, they are just hammering on him. And he was really down. He called me last week. And so I was chatting with him. This is a man who's brilliant. He knows the word inside and out. He knows Hebrew. He knows Greek. So he knows. And yet the world is chewing him up. And if you can, please pray for him. I'm not going to tell you his name, but please pray for him. You could use your prayers. But so the Lord gave me something to tell him. I'm going to share it with you because I think it applies to you as well. I said to him, okay, when you see in Revelation all those people around the throne saying, "Worthy is the Lamb," and they're all singing to him. I said, when does that happen? He said, well, I think it's happening now. He said, and he told me why. Again, he knows the word. He went through all these scriptures. He's been in seminary. He went through all these scriptures and stuff. And I said, okay, all right, that's true. It's happening now. But I said to him, when do you and I get to experience this? When do we get to worship God in that way? And he said, well, I guess when we breathe our last breath, and then the next instant we'll find ourselves there. I said, well, that's normally the consensus. And I told him, I said, look, Albert Einstein theorized, and now it's a popular thought in physics, that the past, the present, and the future all exist at the same time. When you hear Jesus say that I'm the Alpha and Omega, I'm the beginning and the end, right? That he knows the end from the beginning, because he's already there. It's already at this point. It's already a point in the future when we're around the throne. So we get so caught up, and this is what I told my friend, we get so caught up in the things that are going around the world. And certainly they are challenging, but we're already there, brother. We are already worshiping. We are already at his feet. We're already in the throne room. We're already there. And so he said, man, that helps. I said, yeah, because it doesn't mean that we're not concerned about the things that are going on in the world today, especially when they're heating up the way they're doing, especially when things are going nuts. But the fact is, folks, we are already there. We are already in the future with Jesus, worshiping him in the throne room. And when you see all of this stuff going on, and we're living out this linear timeline in our lives until we do breathe our last, then it's hard, because we got to have boots on the ground here. We have to live in this world that's going insane. And we are facing some very dangerous times. There's a kill shot on us in so many different ways. And yet we are already worshiping our Lord around the throne. So I invite you to practice for the time when we actually know we're there, when we see that we're there. We just can't see it, right? It's a different dimension, as that physicist said. But the point is that we're already there. So this is a great time when things are going nuts and you're feeling anxiety about all the stuff in the world that are going on. Worship the Lord. So until next week, this is Daniel Holdings signing off.